Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Epicor in the Solution Spotlight, an exclusive webinar event.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Epicor. Selecting an ERP system that powers an organization's supply chain and overall operations may be the most critical decision happening in enterprise IT today. And according to a new IDC report studying Epicor customers, that decision will have a profound and measurable impact on business operations, costs, and results. So today, we'll be focusing on an Apex ERP solution for distribution, Epicor's Profit 21, a modern enterprise technology that is cloud-based, web-enabled, fully configurable, and can integrate with other applications, partners, and customers. And joining us from Philadelphia to walk us through the Epicor Profit 21 solution is Marcus Anderson, Senior Sales Engineer from Epicor. Marcus, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm very glad you're here, and we're actually really looking forward to this particular demo because ERP has been so much of an important category that we've been covering for quite a few years now, and we continue to see it grow and the interest in it grow, and honestly, the page views that we get from our site continue to grow as well. Because I think, as I mentioned in the intro, this is such an important decision. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the actual demo. I know you've been in the space a long time and you've seen a lot of things. Give us a little bit of your background and kind of how you ended up here at Epicor.
Sure, yeah. So I'm what they call a solutions engineer, which really is a fancy way of saying I demo our software. And I've been working in supply chain, not just specifically with distribution, but across the supply chain, a lot of different software packages for about 20 years. And I'd say for the last 5 years or so, actually, I think my fifth year anniversary is coming up with Epicor, where I've been focused on distribution and learning Profit 21, understanding how it provides value to our customers, understanding how to show that value, demonstrate that value, and really seeing that tool transform in just the amount of time that I've been here, from a client server type application into a modern web-based application that's really flexible, that allows our customers to access it from anywhere, and provides a lot of great capabilities around just usability, ease of use, access to their information, and so forth. So it's a little bit about my journey to where I am today with Epicor.
Well, and that's why I think people are going to be really interested in what you're going to show today because of the evolution of ERP technology over the past several years. Mm-hmm. It's an old category. It's been around a while. I think a lot of people have stereotypes about how it feels, how it looks, and what I've seen with the Profit 21 solution in just getting ready for this event. It's really a whole new way to think about ERP and really bringing together a lot of other elements. And so I know you've got a lot to show. So I'm going to have you start to get ready to do that. So if you want to start to get things sorted out on your end, I'm going to let everybody know that you're going to walk through this, a few slides and a demo, and then we're going to take questions from the audience, and we're going to come back at the end of your presentation and walk through some questions, any questions people might have. I'll have a few questions, and we'll have a little bit of a discussion at the end. But otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it from here. And I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to do this and demonstrate our product today at Profit 21. Just to take you through what we'll do today, I'm going to give you a product tour. Obviously, Profit 21, very robust ERP system with a lot of capabilities. Obviously, more than I can show in 30 to 40 minutes. But I think what makes sense here is to really highlight what I call kind of the pillars of usability when it comes to Profit 21, and that being things like ease of use, how a user will interact with the software, navigate around the software, what that looks like, entering a transaction and what that looks like from an ease of use standpoint. But even more so, It being an ERP, it's thought of as a single source of truth for a lot of the data that you're collecting. And I want to be able to highlight kind of what the different options are for getting to that to that data and accessing that information. And again, it is a fit for purpose tool. So that means there are elements of personalization and ways we can extend the ERP into other areas of functionality. And like I say, overall, just a single source of truth. So I'll take you through the UI a little bit. We'll go through a simple transaction, what a quote looks like, obviously what's driving your supply and demand, right? Your orders and your quotes. So understanding what that looks like, and maybe a touch on our CRM capabilities that are embedded in that process, so that the end user can have visibility into things about the customer that's obviously important during the time of a transaction. What that shipping process looks like once that order's been picked and collected, how that works. And then on the, demand side of things, seeing what the purchasing looks like and how we've streamlined purchasing, how we've included different methods of replenishment using both static and dynamic ways of replenishing inventory, and then receiving that inventory into the warehouse. So again, just to highlight those capabilities and touch on some of those kind of pillars of usability as I move through that. So without further ado, I'll get into the demonstration of Profit 21. So on my screen, what you're looking at is I've logged in as a user. I'm a super user in this demo system, which basically means I have everything turned on for me. And when I log into the system, this is my home page. And this is important to point out because, there's really not a lot to look at in terms of buttons and fields. It's more information, it's data. It's data that's important to me as a user. We've configured that data in what we call these widgets that are available on screen. So these widgets are just kind of data elements, things that are important to me as a business user in the system. Now, again, I made some generic ones here that kind of cover things like KPIs around sales, meeting budgets, quote to order ratios, just a mixture of different types of data. But the point of this is that I can take any of those elements across my entire database, across my entire system, whether that's in accounting or in customer service or in inventory, and add those key pieces of data to my home screen. So when I log in, I can see things that are important to me, understand what I'm working on, understand how I'm going to progress through my day. And this is just the home screen that we log into. You'll also notice I'm running inside of a browser. It's a web-based application. It's important to point out that, like I mentioned earlier, we've evolved, right, from your traditional client server type applications to web-based, everything running in a browser. It just enables that remote access to the system, remote usability, and that became more prominent throughout the last 2 years when a lot of people had to adapt to the global situation we went through, as well as continue working, and that really helped our customers achieve that goal, continue doing their business with their business system, because now we are running inside of a browser in a web-based application. So just pointing that out. But in addition to our homepage here, it's kind of the theme, like I mentioned earlier, the access to data, right? I've added a lot of information here, not just on my home screen, but you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's a whole number of these tabs. These tabs are what we call portals or dashboards, whatever you want to call that term. They're views into your data, a little more specifically than what we're looking here on these widgets, right? These views enable me to add reportable data from my system, things that you traditionally would generate into a paper-based report, add that into a dynamic report, a living report, if you will, on screen. So I can build those very simply. I can have them across my entire organization. So in addition to my home portal, I might want to add some customer service details to a dashboard, things like open orders, open quotes, so that my customer service reps can quickly see what those transactions are that they're looking at. And I've displayed these in a tabular format, almost like an Excel-based format. And the nice part about this is that, again, it's access to data. I can drill in on some of these items. You'll notice small drill icons both in the column headers, but as I scroll over these items here, just means I can click on these items and open up that specific transaction. But also I can take this data out of the system. It's living here on my screen, but if I wanted to pull this out, say into Excel, because I like to work in Excel, or I might want to share this data with somebody, I can easily just right click on that area, anywhere in that area, and there's a service called Save As that just lets me extract that specific piece of information into an Excel spreadsheet that you can see here on the bottom. So that's throughout Profit 21. Right, so this is just that quote information, that order information. But throughout Profit 21, anytime you see data represented in a grid like this, it's extractable into Excel. So there's no need to fish for reports and find that data and how to generate it. You can do that easily from anytime you see this on screen. So again, you see a combination of accessing the data, but also ease of use when it comes to being able to pull that out and share it. And they can be different variations of this or combinations of both. Tabular information in my service dashboard, for instance, that I have put together. Service being an optional module that we sell that's fully a part of Profit 21's offering. This service capability lets me monitor technicians in a graphical way, but also again seeing some of the transactions related to that. So this is a whole range. I won't go through all these, but again, it can cross-cut your organization. I might have an accounting dashboard for specific reasons. I might have an inventory management or an inventory manager that wants to see dead and overstock items kind of at their fingertips. So we can add any combination of these dashboards and portals to my homepage. And when I say we can add, that means you can add it, right? It's not something that we need to learn how to build from a programmatic standpoint. It's something that any person can be trained to do. It's very basic kind of drag and drop information. So part of this is what we call configuration and the configurability of Profit 21. Not having to have a lot of overhead when it comes to IT support, something that any user can think about, understand, and put together themselves if they want to. So all very simple to interact with. So that's a little bit about what we call access to data, being able to represent data in different ways. And in addition to these dashboards and portals, you always have your traditional reporting that's going to be a part of any ERP system. That's going to be your standard reports that every system will have. And there's about 200 of those in Profit 21 pre-built and ready to go. And they're going to cross-cut all applications. So where do I want to see those? Over here on my right or my left-hand side is my navigation menu. It's very slim. It keeps it out of the way. It gives me more real estate on my page. But if I want to navigate around the application, I'm just clicking on what I call a tic-tac-toe icon here in the corner, and it opens up my navigation menu. So if I am looking for a report, I can always access the menu. And again, through any of my capabilities, any of my major areas of functionality, I can just expand these out. Go into, say, accounting, accounts payable, down to reports, and every section is going to have a reporting, a list of your basic reports, your standard reports, I will say, that you can pull out of the system, whether that's an AP trial balance report that you might want to reference, or any of these other types of reports. And these are going to be your traditional kind of paper-based printed out reports. But keep in mind that any of the data that's on these reports can be added to a dashboard like this. So if you find yourself as a user going to the same kind of subset of reports over and over again, just know we can add that to a portal very simply. And if it is something we go to frequently, you'll notice these small star icons. I can just select this and it'll add this to my main menu as a favorite. So I don't have to necessarily sift through these menus. So the menu is very easy to navigate. Again, all your major areas of functionality are going to be represented here in these collapsible menus. But if there's something I want to find, maybe I don't want to sift through all of these menus to find that, I can just use my navigation search at the top, and that lets me search through the entire range of functionality that I have available to me as a user very quickly. So for instance, I know I have a lost sales report in my system somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where that might be. I can just start typing the word lost. If I could spell correctly the word lost, and it's going to find that report or anything related to those keywords. So it's a type ahead search that lets me find things very quickly in this system. And like I mentioned, if it's something I go to frequently, it'll just get added to my favorites menu. So anything that I go to frequently, you'll see here in my favorites, the favorite side of this expandable menu. And this is always over here on the side. So again, reports are all available throughout the system, your kind of traditional ways of getting data. But again, your home will do a lot of information about portals and dashboards and ways to represent data a little more quickly and a little more effectively. Before I move into transactions, I just want to talk about a couple of the other usability enhancements, because again, ease of use is something we really promote with the tool. We understand a lot of customers that are transitioning perhaps from another ERP system or another way of doing things to run their business into something like Profit 21 might need some hand holding, might need some support to do that. So we give you tools around that. So looking at my, again, my sidebar here, we'll notice there's a small little chat bubble. There's a help icon. There's a little bell with a small notification tag, and then that's my login information. So I'll take you through kind of what these are. This first one's actually really kind of cool because it is basically an embedded voice assistant or Epicor voice assistant, also known as Eva. And she works like you would think Siri or Alexa or any of these voice assistants that are so prominent these days on many of our devices that we use on a day-to-day basis. We have the same capability built into Profit 21. So there is an app that's available on the application store or on the App Store, or on the iTunes, or wherever you get apps for your mobile phones, called Eva or Epicor Virtual Assistant. She's also built into the web interface. So with that app in hand as a sales rep, or maybe in the tool itself, you can start typing in just things that you might be looking for, right? Maybe I'm going to a customer, I want to get some directions, or maybe find out who my contact is there at the customer. With app in hand, I can pull the same interface up and literally talk to Eva. Just as a demonstration, I can say, show me Marcus Supply. Something I would ask her, right? I'm looking for a customer that I'm going to be visiting. So Marcus Supply will be one of the customers that I'm visiting. I can say, show me Marcus Supply. She'll pull that up for me right away. I can click on this information, maybe get directions if I want to. Who's my main contact over there? I'm going to be speaking to somebody without having to look up in the system who that is and having to fish through maybe my CRM side of things. I can just type in who is my contact. It'll pull up that contact or contacts that that might be available there. Show me the last order. What was the last thing they bought from me? So basic things that I can do. Now, I'm showing you some of these basic commands. She is an artificial intelligence. She's always learning. She's always getting better at what she does. She's getting new skills, as we call them. And that includes being able to actually initiate transactions. So placing orders or quotes or a whole range of items, looking up inventory and specific inventory locations. Again, very powerful, very flexible tool, something that's built into the application and also available in the App Store as an app that works with Profit 21. So that's a little bit about Epicor's virtual assistant. I also like to talk about our help because, again, beyond learning a new system like this can be challenging, and we want to make sure that is not the case when it comes to Profit 21. So we build in contextual help, but it's much more than that. There's also what we call guided learning, as well as walkthroughs, videos, and so forth. And they're always available here in my help icon. And I say contextual because whenever I open that, you'll see me open that in a second, wherever I am in the application and I open that, it pulls in that information about the page I'm on. So I don't even need to look for what I'm looking for. If I'm on a page and I want some help with that page, you'll notice it's showing me how to create a web portal, right? We talked about that. We have training built in there. These are documents, but there's videos, there's articles, and there's a guided learning tool. And it's in the context of the page that I click this icon on. So for example, if I go over to my Report Studio, right? I want to learn what this means. What is Report Studio? When I select my help icon, it's now showing me contextual information about the Report Studio. Right, same with order entry. We'll see this in just a little bit, but I need help with entering an order. There is my whole list of what's available to me, whether that's a video that walks me through it, an article I can read, like a traditional help article, or even a guided tour, right? Which is actually very nice because I can click guided tour and say use quick order entry or create an order in order entry and select that. What that does is it initiates a process of being able to walk me through that process. You'll see these call outs, right? It's telling me what I'm doing to enter an order. Leave this blank and click next to continue, right? Go ahead and enter the customer ID. I'll enter a customer ID and it'll take me through the entire process of placing an order live in the system, almost like a tutorial, but a live tutorial. So again, very, very deep help information. It's not just your standard documentation like we're used to in a lot of applications. We built a lot of capability, a lot of information into these in a lot of different media formats. So just to keep that in mind as to help. And the last thing I'll point out here is our notification center. So the notification center, very nice, because what that lets me do is instant message anybody that's working in Profit 21. So if I have a couple of colleagues that I'm working with, or somebody in the warehouse that I want to go ahead and chat with real quick, anybody who's logged into the system is going to be able to see those individuals. They're going to be able to see who they are, and select that person and shoot them a quick message, just like we would in any kind of texting device. But also it's a nice way of notifying and managing activities. We use what we call tasks in Profit 21. Tasks are basically time-controlled ways of assigning people to do different things, and they can be anything. It could be a quote follow-up, a customer visit, maybe a blind count of a certain section of my warehouse. It doesn't matter what it is. We can categorize those tasks, manage them, and assign them to people, and actually put time parameters around them. But those tasks that get assigned will show up in my notification area. So I'll see a small badge like this saying something's been assigned to me. When I log into Profit 21, I'll notice what those tasks are. I can open up a list if there's multiple and see them, or I can see them just laid out here in my notification center, and I can open the task, I can respond to it, I can update it, and so forth. And there's a whole level of task management. It's just almost like a workflow capability within the tool that allows me to communicate, but also report and manage that communication. So beyond just an email, it's built into Profit 21 and can be all kind of Profit 21 activity driven. So that's a little bit about our notification center. So we saw some of the what I call usability enhancements, usability capabilities of Profit 21, things like portals, dashboards, having that kind of drillable interface in the data, being able to extract that data real quick. But it's all kind of dependent on having data in the system. How are we getting the data there? Obviously, it's going to be through transactions. It's going to be through interacting with customers, through creating purchase orders and building everything up in real time, like the accounting information that's behind that. So again, it's a real-time system. All of that data is collected in real time, and it's updated in real time within the database. So let's get into the transactions and talk a little bit about that. And I'm also going to touch a little bit on what we call personalization. We saw some aspects of that with the portals. I'll talk a little bit more about kind of what that means in a little more detail. So I'm going to move over to my order entry page. And we just saw that when I was doing my quick help walkthrough. So we're looking at a standard transaction page in Profit 21. This is order entry. Now, most of our transaction pages are laid out the same way. It just makes it easy to understand the application from a technology standpoint. Whenever I'm doing any kind of entry into the system, whether it's an order entry, maybe it's a purchase order, maybe it's a service order, a production order, whatever that looks like. We're going to have a layout with a header area that's tabbed out for additional information. We're also going to have a footer area that's going to be also tabbed out, right? So the header area is going to be my customer information. When I start taking a quote or an order, it's going to populate with that data, and it's going to populate these tabs with anything supporting those customers based on the customer that's on screen. Same with the items that I put into my item area. It's going to be filled out. This tabbed area is going to be filled out, and we'll see what the benefit of that is in just a little bit. So it's kind of a multi-page, or if we want to think of a split page layout, it just gives me kind of a top and bottom area of interacting with data. There's also at the top, we call it productivity ribbon. This is going to include those favorites from my sidebar that I showed you earlier. So anything that I've added as a favorite is going to be available in there. There's also these metrics. These metrics are something like our portals, our widgets on our portal page, where I can configure these to show any bits of data, right? And they can be completely unique to users. You can have different types of these. I've got a couple of examples. When I put a customer on a screen, how much do they owe me over 90 days? What's their credit status? If I put an image on the page, what's that look like? What's that item look like from my catalog? or even some pricing information if I want to add that. So these are dynamic, and again, they can be, you can have as many of these as you want, and they can be for a lot of different reasons. So as you think about information that you want at your fingertips, whether you're on a order entry page or maybe creating a purchase order, you'll have metrics available to give you that visibility into that. And if you want a little more screen real estate, you can always hide these sections very easily just by putting that up or down, and you'll get your main functionality buttons that you can use, but you can give yourself a little more screen real estate as well. So we see a screen here, again, order entry. You might wonder, there's rental data here. There's this button called track about. Maybe I'm in electrical supply. I don't know or care about this kind of stuff. I don't do any rentals. I'm not sure what some of these labels mean. Remember that Profit 21 is a fit for purpose application. What I mean by that is that we're focused on distribution, but within distribution, obviously, there's a lot of different industries that we support from a distribution standpoint, whether that's plumbing, electrical, Jansan, et cetera, down the line. Which means that a distribution ERP system needs to be able to accommodate the uniquenesses across those different industries. And we do that because by letting you have a personalization capability here that lets you take the Profit 21 interface and really adapt it to whatever your needs are. Now, you might roll with it as it is out of the box, or you might want to make some changes. We let you do that. It's a technology that's built into the system. We call it Dyna Change. Really means to dynamically change what you're looking at. You can actually modify your screen as if you're programming this application, but you don't need to be a programmer to do this. Anybody who's ever edited a PowerPoint can basically edit and modify the screen we're looking at. So for instance, if I wanted to make any changes to my UI screen, for order entry, just right mouse button clicking. And that right mouse button in Profit 21 has a lot of great contextual capability. Things that you might want to do quickly, you're going to find in this right mouse button area. So if I go to Dyna Change, it'll give me the Dyna Change options, right? So the options are, do I want to modify the screen? Maybe I want to change my menu for navigating. Maybe I want to add some logic, right? You have that capability here within Dyna Change to do that. Selecting Screen Designer, for instance, will open up a new screen. I can create or edit ones I might have already created, which I see here that I've made myself, or create a new one. And it just pops open another tab. We're in a tabbed interface, so it'll open up another tab that shows me basically my, I can't move this down a little bit so we can see. So my order page, I'm just going to pop this up. My order entry page is looking like this. This is what I'm interacting with. And if I pull this down and go over to my screen designer, you'll notice it's an editable view. The reason I'm pulling this down is because there's a toolbar for the sharing up here that's in my way a little bit, but I can work around that, no problem. So this is editable, right? So what I can do now, for instance, is make changes. Everything is a control. If you are familiar with any kind of programming concepts, they call these things controls, but they're just labels, they're fields, as we all know. And selecting any one of these controls gives me a little bit of a properties box that I can use to edit. So if I want to change taker, maybe I want to change it to order taker or CRM or whatever I call my customer service people. I can edit that very quickly just by updating these properties. And saving that will create that change. It's as simple as that. Now we can get a little more detailed. Again, I can hide things. I can make things invisible, not visible. So hide those buttons that you see on pages. Scrolling over, again, we saw that rental information. Maybe I want to turn all that off for my users. I can go ahead and do that just by dragging, dropping. This is all a very drag and droppable type interface. Something like I said, if you can edit a PowerPoint, you can make these changes to these sections of the pages. And beyond that, you can even go a step further, adding user-defined fields, pulling fields from other parts of the application onto a page to make things more usable. For instance, I do a lot of will calls in my business, so I can just say I want the will call checkbox on my homepage. I can just type in there, find that will call field that's in my database, and just drag that onto my order entry page. It's as simple as that. I don't need to know how to program. I don't need to know how to write SQL. I don't need to know any of that stuff. The system will do that for me automatically. So this is Dyna Change, and it's not just for order entry. It's across the application. So you can change the column layouts. You can change tabular layouts, and any page that you're on that you want to think about changing, that's going to be available. if you have it turned on. Very powerful tool. You can manipulate the ERP system from a user standpoint. So we want to make sure, as a best practice, maybe we keep that in the hands of a few individuals. But the point is, it's there. It's what we call a personalization capability that we have, and allows us to really allows our customers to really personalize and make their ERP system for distribution fit for purpose for them. So let's actually get into a transaction. You know, one of the other things we like talking about is ease of use, and I'll take you through creating a quote. A lot of times customers struggle with searching, finding, creating transactions around information that they have in their system. Profit 21, we try to make that as simple as possible. We want to obviously let your volume of sales translate into ease of use, right? So if you're getting a lot of orders or a lot of quotes, we want that to be a simple process. So when I start an order in order entry or a quote in order entry, and I'll start it as a quote actually, just by checking the quote box, all it does is it puts my system in quote mode, letting it know it is a quote. I'm not going to allocate any inventory at this point until I convert this to an order, but I'm going to be placing a quote for my customer, Marcus Supply. I'm on the phone with maybe Wilson, my contact over there, as we saw in Eva earlier. I want to look that up real quick. Anything you'll notice, anything that's an underlined field where I can enter data, I can just start typing. I don't need to open up a search dialog. I don't need to go to a searching page. I'm just typing what I know about who's on the phone, my customer. It could be anything, any information that's in their customer record, I can type and it'll filter down based on what I'm putting in there. So as I continue to type, it's going to get to exactly what I'm looking for. But I could have searched on any of this information. I don't need to know an ID. I don't need to know anything specific. I just need to know who I'm talking to and that they're a contact at my customer. Selecting them will populate that customer area with more information about who they are. And you'll notice, if you didn't notice, that these tabs start populating now with data. So it knows there's a customer on screen. There's going to be some information about that customer that might be useful to me. Maybe I want to see their credit information or anything related to shipping or pricing. All of that's going to be available as these tabs get updated. So whatever's available for that customer is going to be in these tabs when you put that customer on screen. So that's just entering customer, very simple, putting a quote, checking the box, and adding my contact there. They're ready to place their order for whatever they're purchasing. In my example, they're looking for an air conditioning unit. So I need to find that air conditioning unit. They might not know the specifics about it. They might be just asking me what are you providing in terms of air conditioning units from Ultra Air or from whoever my supplier is. Similar to the contact, I can just start typing in information about it. Maybe they said something about Ultra Air. I don't know the exact part number, but I'm just typing in what they tell me. And as I do, it starts filtering down. So there's this item ID, but I can see, are you looking for a 3.5 ton Allegiance 18 Ultra air conditioner? Maybe that's the one they're looking for. I can see that it's here. They're saying, yep, that sounds about right. There's other options here because I just typed in some information. So again, it's filtering through my entire database, finding this information. I don't have to open up search dialogues to do that. Now I can. There are options for opening up search dialogues that give you other options in the system, like creating non-stock parts or even building assemblies if we get into that level. But for the purposes of this tour, just know that you do have an easy way of finding items, but you also have some more details that you might want to leverage depending on the nature of your business. But in this case, I'm just adding this one item to a quote here. I can see there's 7 available in stock. So my stock information is being automatically populated here. And I'm just going to say they want one of these. And once I pull my quantity in, it's going to go grab that price. So my pricing is available. Pricing is based on a lot of different factors. We won't go into too many details, but just know that you have contracts, you have pricing libraries, you have manual ways of calculating pricing, pricing based on last order, pricing based on gross margin, a whole other topic, and we can get into a whole other webcast on that if we want to, but it's pulling that price from the customers, from whatever's been set up for the customer in this case. So I've added that. You'll notice at the top, I've got some of those metrics updated. My credit status for the customers updated. We can see what they owe me. An image has come in for my air conditioning unit in this case. And like the other customer information, our tabs have updated. So I have some document links. So maybe there's a link to a customer site, maybe there's a spec sheet, maybe there's other additional information that we've included. Document links are throughout Profit 21, so any type of documentation can be added in here very simply by just dragging and dropping either a link from a web page or even a document from your desktop. Can all be added and attached here very simply. You can always visit that link, visit that item link just by clicking on that, show me an image of that particular unit. So again, it's all very intuitive and available within the same page. I haven't left the transaction page. All I've done here is enter an item. Any POs that are currently out there for that item, we can see the sales history of that items are made available to me now, so I can see how many times it's been purchased from this customer, commitment schedules, and so forth. I won't go through all these. Stock availability is important. If you are running a business with multiple locations and maybe you didn't have 7 available in your main location, you have visibility into where these other units might be, right? So you can quickly select from them and get them shipped out of there, or even do transfers if you want to. Extended information just shows me additional details about the unit itself, maybe my suppliers who I buy them from, and so forth, pricing, costs, all available to the customer service reps who are placing this order. So we can see a lot of this extra detail just by entering an item on page. So again, what we've done here is check the quote box. We're in quote mode. I've added my customer, I've added an item. Let's go ahead and save this and create my quote. So I want to generate a quote out to my customer. I'm going to go to my front counter tab. And before it does that, it knows, so it's thinking, right? The system looks at that item that I just entered a quantity for, and it goes, hey, you know, if you're buying this HVAC unit, maybe you want to buy a replacement blower motor, maybe you want to buy an evaporator coil. These are known as accessory items. Again, this is all about giving you access to data, but also ease of use. I don't have to think about what goes with that HVAC system. I can have that preset in my system. So whenever I put that item on page, it's going to pull up a list of go together items, right? Things we can suggest to the customer. Very useful, you know, if you sell an item that has lots of parts or maybe things that go together. Typically I'm selling a chainsaw, maybe a battery operated chainsaw that needs a battery, maybe a charging stand or an extra battery or even a chain, whatever that looks like. If I'm selling those products, I can suggest these to customers and you'll see that come up automatically in customer service. So just a nice little enhancement there for what we call accessory items. And the system understands that because it knows the nature of these items and how they're set up in Profit 21. So let's print my quote. You'll get a look at what a quotation looks like. It's just a standard document. I'm going to save this. It's going to ask me a few things once I save this. I have the configuration turned on, and this is optional. It doesn't have to be turned on. But if I pull up back to my order page here. When I hit that quote and save that, the system is creating a task. Now we saw tasks earlier when I was over in my home page, right? This is where they're coming from. This is a task. That's how we create it. So if I go back to my, I wish I could hide this up the top here, but I can't. So what I'll do is I'll just keep going back and forth. This a little bit here, back to my order entry, and you'll notice I'm still in the quote process. It's asking me to create a task, right? And this is where those tasks are coming from. It's my, in this case, by default, it's saying as a quote follow-up because that's where I created it. But again, these tasks can be for anything in the system. It doesn't have to be only for sales, but I have it turned on. So every time I create a quote, I'm going to create a reminder to my sales rep or to my customer service rep that we want to follow up on this and make sure they get this converted. And that's all this is doing. Now, again, I can turn this on optionally. It doesn't have to be on. It's just something I want to point out. And you might go, where is my order entry page? You know, it hasn't gone anywhere. I'm in a pop-up window. Pop-up windows in a browser in Profit 21 take up the screen so we can see the eyeball icon. If I select that, it's still behind the scenes there. So it's just a pop-up really for scheduled task use, and you'll see those throughout. So I'm not going to bother creating the task. I'm just going to complete my quote. We saw the quote get printed. There is my quote right there. Standard document. Again, there's a lot of options for how you want this laid out. in what information you might want to include on this for your customer. This is just a standard document that comes out of Profit 21 as part of a transaction. So that is basically placing a quote. Now, how do we convert that to an order? Very simply, right? So the process obviously is easy to do. If I went through this, I can literally go through this, enter a quote, put a customer in, enter an item in a couple of seconds. Now I want to convert that to an order. I can also do that very quickly. So another nice part about my sidebar is there's a recall icon. What that does is it lets me quickly grab that last transaction. So there's my last transaction, the quote. Now the customer says that looks good. I'm happy with that. Order, because I want to convert this to an order. So you don't have to put a PO in there. I just like to put it in there for reference. So there's my solution review order. And I'm going to convert this. Now, there's a couple of options for converting quotes to orders. You have a quote to order wizard, if you see this at the top here. The wizard approach gives me steps. It gives me options. Do I want to leave the quote open? Do I want to close the quote? Why would I leave it open? Maybe I want to reuse this quote again. Do I want to include notes? Do I want to include documents like we saw earlier? There's a lot of different options for converting to an order before I send that out. But in the case where I just want to quickly convert this and leave it and close it after, again, my right mouse button menu allows me to quickly do that. So I'm going to right mouse button menu on the quote page or the order page, and you'll notice there's my convert to order. Select that. It'll give me a little, hey, you're going to close this if you do this, and this is just a message in the system. A lot of these messages will pop up just to let the user know what's going on, and I'll hit yes. That's definitely what I want to do, and now I have an order in the system. I can save this order. I can add additional items to this depending on what I want to do here. Completely up to me, but that's basically converting to an order. What I'll do is I'll just save it as is, print this out, my order acknowledgement to my customer, and it'll actually I can create a pick ticket down to my warehouse. Now the pick tickets are automatically generated if you have a pick report running, which is pretty instant. For the interest of a demonstration, I'll save that and kick that out. So now I've just created an order. Basically, I've converted a quote to an order. It's kicked out a pick ticket because it is an order now. And the next step really here is just shipping this out of the system, right? So down in shipping, I'm going to put my shipping hat on and open up my shipping interface. Down in shipping, you'll see, this is going to be available down in my warehouse. I'm going to ship that air conditioner out. It's just a matter of entering my pick ticket number that I just created. So there's my pick ticket for that item that I just had. Going over to my shipping screen, dropping that in there. And again, in the interest of time, I know we only have a few minutes left here. I just want to take you through what that looks like. This is shipping, saving this and confirming this is going to invoice the customer, which can be invoiced at the time of shipment or batched for later accounting purposes. But that's as simple as it gets. It's just shipping that out. Any of my customer specific shipping methods can be saved by default, or we can select whatever way we have included in the system. And again, you can see we support FedEx, UPS, we can even allow rate shopping with one of our with our quick ship add-on to the product. So that's kind of the quote to order to shipping process. Again, once the invoice is received, they'll process that. We're not going to get into accounting today, but just know there is a full accounting capability, obviously in Profit 21, that manages all my cash collections. We're not going to get into the details of accounting today, but just know that's all hitting the accounting side of the system in real time. But what I want to do real quick is move over to the demand side of things. We've created the demand. Now we're going to see how we can leverage our purchasing capabilities in Profit 21 to generate POs based on that. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to go over to my purchase order requirements generation page. So it's a long way of saying I'm going to generate my PO or POs out of Profit 21. Now, purchase order requirements generation, this is our standard purchasing process. Just know there are other ways to create POs in the system, whether that's for direct ships or direct ships, or maybe a one-off purchase order or requisition PO. This is the streamlined way. This is the way we gather the demand from the sales side of the operation, whether, again, that's for inventory that's available, for back orders, for direct ships, for special orders. This is where we can go to one page and create use that criteria to create POs for whatever reasons we are. And you'll notice here, this is really what this is, right? It's telling me whatever parameters I want to describe, whether that's ordering everything for a specific location, ordering for multiple locations if I have those. Let's find all my direct ships. Let's find all my back orders. Let's find all my purchase order for non-stocks or combinations of any of those. Maybe I want to do it for a single supplier or multiple suppliers, maybe for a product group or multiple product groups, or even for a specific item. All of these criteria can be entered here for whatever those purchasing requirements are. And they can be used and reused and saved. So for instance, for the purposes of this webcast, I've created this and saved this report that I can reuse, right? So this is an all stock requirement for a specific vendor. So this is one vendor, and this is going to include back orders and non-stocks, and it's going to include everything that's out there from a demand standpoint. So once I hit generate requirements, it's going to tell me what I need to buy from that vendor based on what I've sold and based on how those items are set up in my system. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. First thing it does is ask me a question. Do I want to calculate price? Because I've got targets set up. I've got vendor targets that can qualify me for discounts based on dollars, discounts based on freight amount. If they're in the system, I want to make sure I qualify for that. So I'm going to hit yes, and it'll show me what those targets are once I click that. So it's going to say, for this supplier, in this case, we're dealing with ABC Supply. Now, again, I'm doing this for one vendor, but remember, this can be for multiple vendors. And I'm going to see my targets, right? So these are my targets for value, my targets for freight. And then once I start selecting items, it'll price that out, which is what that pop-up just asked me, so I can make sure I'm matching those targets. But the items that it's telling me, the system is telling me I need to buy right now, are going to be on my item tab. Again, this is a tabbed area. This is a report, but this is a fit for purpose report specifically for purchasing. There's no other report like this in the system, but for all intents and purposes, it is a report. I'm entering criteria and I'm getting results, but in this case, is showing me what I need to buy from a purchasing standpoint. So once I have that list, there's a whole range of data on this page that lets me, as the purchasing agent, understand what I'm buying. Should I buy it? Should I make adjustments here? What can I do? And there's a whole range of tools that let them do that. But from a visibility standpoint, I see these items, I see the descriptions, and I see, most importantly, the recommended quantity to order. This is what's been dynamically generated based on a lot of factors, right? You'll notice that there's multiple replenishment methods here, right? There's min maxes. There are standard dynamic replenishment where I have a minimum amount, and then I had to order up to a maximum based on what I've sold, right? Just a very static way of doing it. It's very common. There's also up to and the OPOQ. These are more dynamic. These allow us to factor things like sales history into the order points. Instead of having just a static minimum order point, I can have a dynamically generated order point based on my usage, based on how those items are being sold, based on lead times. A whole range of factors can be used to create these dynamic order points. So again, keep that in mind. It's just a very robust system when it comes to purchasing. You have a lot of options here. I'm going to keep it very simple. This is a list of items I need to buy for one product or for one customer. I won't go through everything, but if I just scroll across here, there is a whole range of information that you can see that's available to the end user. Now, again, this is all configurable. I can drag and drop these columns around just like I would in Excel. We can make this very fit for purpose for that individual purchasing agent and only show them what they need to see. So again, you have a lot of data here, but the basic process of creating a PO for this is just opening up this page, trusting that the system is calculating things based on how you have your items set up. And you can even validate that very simply, right? For instance, I can look at, okay, so I have to order 310 units of this hex cap screw. Where is that number coming from? If we want to double check that very quickly, just selecting, you'll notice my drillable icon, selecting that will open up my calculation for that item, right? So it's telling me there's my net stock. This is net of anything that I have that's been allocated out of my system. This is what I have to sell today. That's gone below my order point. So my order point's 250. The static order point here is 250. So anytime it drops below that, for whatever reason, that's going to trigger this calculation, and it's going to tell me to order up to my maximum. My maximum is 500 units. So it does some simple math here and comes up with 310. Right. So this is a basic, calculation, a min-max calculation. This is where that 310 is coming from. I can make adjustments at any point to this if I want to. I can research this for a whole range of reasons. Maybe I want to look at the history of this item, the purchase history of this item, drill into any of this data that I want to drill into to find out more details about the items. There's a whole range of tools here, but simply this is what the system's telling me based on my usage, based on what's been sold and my min maxes. We can get super dynamic here. Like I said, I won't get into the details, but if I look at this heater coil, going back to our HVAC business and see what's going on there, I notice I'm an up to. If I select that, you'll see a different calculation, right? In this case, we're factoring in, for future forecasts. We're looking at how we typically sell this going forward, because there's a lot of factors being used, right? There's lead time, there's review cycles. How often do I look at this? What's my safety stock that I want to keep in place, right? It's dynamically creating that order point versus just being a static order point in this case. So again, we won't get into the details, but just know that you have, based on the types of items you have, whether they're seasonal, trending, erratic, whatever, options in Profit 21 for including that information and using that to dynamically keep your levels at optimal stock. So again, the simple part here, you saw me generate that report. Once I hit the generate requirements, it shows me the list of items that fall into those categories. To purchase these, it's just hitting purchase all. It'll go through and check box all of these items and price them out because I'm matching targets, and saving this will create the PO. Now I can do individuals if I wanted to. I can do all kinds of things with this, but the basic steps is just create the criteria, get your results, hit purchase all, and hit save. That's your PO. Create it, in this case, to my ABC supply company. As simple as that. And again, there's a whole other range of details here. If I want to know, what are these badges that we see? You might be going, what does that mean? This means that I have a customer demand. It means I have some back orders for this item, right? So some customers are waiting for this splice plate, right? I can select that item and see those back orders, right? So the information's at my fingertips. I'm not fishing around, finding out where it is or what it's for. It's all available to me, and that's purchasing. Again, just a type of report, but a very specific fit for purpose report, but also highlighting the ease of use, the access to the data in the system, including sales data for those items, understanding data about my suppliers for those items, about target levels, and folding all that into a very simple process for generating a PO. On the receiving side, once I gather a PO, once I have a PO, and it's being shipped to me, I'm just going down to the warehouse again, into my purchase order receipts. I'm looking up that purchase order number as a warehouse person, and I'm tracking that, scanning it if I'm using a wireless capability, but I'm just taking that PO number, looking it up. I have an example in here I'll just pull up real quick. This one has some landed cost. So this is an open PO that's been out there. Maybe I'm receiving some parts of this. But we can see, what's on the PO, what's available for receipt. I will go and scan or identify what I've just received, update my quantity received here from a receiving standpoint. It gets a unique receiving number. If there are landed costs involved for the supplier, we can see what they look like. So again, Profit 21 manages all that as well. Customs, duty, whatever those landed costs might look like, and we're going to factor that into the receipt side of things. And from a receiving standpoint, it can be an automatic allocation. So that's just going to hit all of the open back orders that have been created for these items. Or if I want to manually allocate this to different orders, I can do that. So you have some options as a receiver around that. But just going to stop real quick there and just summarize where I've been in this demonstration, right? So what we've done really is kind of highlight some of the capabilities around what I call, ease of use, quickly entering transactions, access to information in the system, some personalization, and all from an ERP that serves as a single source of truth. So taking you through what a transaction looked like from a quote, converting that to an order, seeing how that demand gets generated from an inventory standpoint, and then leveraging that on the purchasing side, see what purchasing looks like when it has that information, what that purchasing process looks like, how that report gets generated out of the system, and just touching on the key aspects of an ERP, right? Understanding how orders are placed, understanding how purchasing is handled, but beyond that, there's a whole other range of capability. And like I said, the data that's generated is all from interacting with the system, and then you have a lot of different ways of leveraging that data from a reporting standpoint. Whether that's dashboards, whether that's using our standard reports, or even a report studio, which I didn't even get into, but just an ad hoc way of building reports for anything in the system that you can easily add to a homepage like this. So with that, I'm going to stop. That's gonna be my my demonstration for today of Profit 21. Hopefully you got a lot of good information out of it. Very quick overview. Again, there's a lot of details here, a lot of capabilities, a lot of power in this ERP, and hopefully you saw some of that value as I went through this today. But with that, I'm going to stop and turn it over for any questions that might have come in during my my presentation.
Well, Marcus, that was quite a full presentation, and I think it's a little unfair for us to ask you to try to demo this thing within an hour. I'm sure you can go probably 4 hours, and you probably do on a regular basis with prospects and folks that have very specific requirements.
Absolutely.
There's clearly a lot of thought here. I know Epicor has been around for 50 years, and all of their experience is demonstrated in all the functionality here. But tell me a little bit about what you're seeing with regard to the prospects that you're talking to. I mean, I couldn't help but think about how timely this conversation is, given the world condition these days. What are you seeing from prospects that are bringing them to this type of next level solution, and really what are some of the key triggers that you see they react positively to?
Yeah, I think the theme here, if you think about it, is remote access. Everything I'm doing is inside a browser. Going through the pandemic like we did, we saw a huge uptick in interest in moving from traditional tried and true applications, ERP applications that people have been using for years. Once they realize that they want to keep doing business and still be able to conduct their business in a remote capacity, that was a huge kind of boon to what we were doing, because we had adopted that approach just prior to the pandemic, and we saw a huge uptick in interest once our customers started realizing we do have this remote option for them. Giving them remote access to the system, having different layers of security to let only specific users see specific things, but having access to the ERP system 24/7, right? So that's really that was huge, and even adding in, like, we were just to highlight the nimbleness of the application. We saw people getting stocked out because over purchasing, customers buying all the PPE up. I can't say PPE, but buying all of that safety equipment up and stocking up on it, stocking out a lot of our customers. They wanted to put restrictions on that. We were able to quickly add capabilities because it's such a nimble application that helped our customers put limits on different, being able to do that, being able to buy them out of stock so they can keep, all their customers happy versus, having to answer those questions of why they don't have the stock available. So just some small examples there, but yeah, the move to the web, the remote capability, remote access was huge for us. And hopefully that provided value to our customers.
Well, and there's one more move beyond the web, and that's to the cloud, right? This is built on Azure. It's a very important piece of the architecture. Can you talk a little bit about the benefits of moving to the cloud?
Yeah, the benefits are a lot of it's kind of common sense, right? You're not owning your servers. You're not owning the responsibility of keeping that data safe, keeping that data from falling into the wrong hands, unauthorized access, older technology, having to update servers on your own, maintaining. That's just from a hardware standpoint. But from an application standpoint, in the cloud, those upgrades happen seamlessly. You don't have to stop business, go, re-update your entire system, take people offline until we get things loaded onto our local servers. We are now able to do that stuff seamlessly and have that control over that in the cloud. And it just gives customers a lot more flexibility. And basically, they can sleep at night knowing that their data is safe, their data is available 24/7. They don't have to worry about anything going on with it from a security standpoint, from who knows what can happen, right? The servers or things that are sitting in local businesses that haven't got proper backups and so forth. So yeah, we've had a huge push on the cloud. We're happy to provide any information in more detail about the cloud offering as well.
Well, and so with regard to security and ultimately, I think support. I know Epicor has an Epicor support system. Can you speak a little bit to the types of support that are offered to Epicor customers and what they can expect with regard to that sort of onboarding?
Yeah, Epicor is really available 24/7 to our customers. I just spoke to a customer yesterday in a demo, and they were talking about how great the support was because they were moving into a newer version, and they had some questions about stuff. They were saying the responsiveness of it, having instant access to the information, like I showed you out of the tool, specific to Profit 21. But beyond that, if they need to communicate with somebody, again, 24/7 support through Epicor. They can pick up the phone and speak to somebody that's familiar with their operation and get that turned around for them very quickly. And again, if we want more details on support, the Epicor webpage will have whole ranges of additional details on kind of what that looks like. But that was a huge push for us. Again, it's just one of our things about becoming a world-class ERP system that people can be confident in when they want to purchase.
So you alluded to this, and we're being asked specifically by an audience member about the Profit 21 presentation was around distribution or being a distributor. These folks are in manufacturing. Is it configurable for manufacturing, or is there effectively a completely other Epicor solution available around manufacturing?
Yes and yes. So, so Profit 21 actually has a manufacturing capability. So out of the box, you get what we call production orders. You can create production orders. You can turn on as an add-on routing and labor tracking. So that actually combines process transactions, kind of simple secondary processes like maybe cutting or welding with a more complex bill of material, and enabling routing. And I don't want to get too technical here, but enabling routing, enabling management around cost with that. So you can do and manage some lighter manufacturing with Profit 21 as an ERP. You get into more complex manufacturing requirements, maybe that's what your specific, maybe you're not a distributor that's focused on just distribution with some manufacturing, you're actually focused on manufacturing. Then we have another product called Kinetic, that's our manufacturing platform, which is not Profit 21, but it is an Epicor product. So yeah, so we have manufacturing capabilities in Profit 21, but there's also a fully realized manufacturing ERP called Kinetic.
Well, and I alluded to the new report that's available on Epicor, where I think they could probably get that on your site. I'm curious about onboarding and kind of time frame. So I alluded to it in my introduction that this is not a small decision, right? This is a mission critical decision, and you really you only get it once every so often, and it's not like what we see in a lot of cases, different point solutions that you might not get all of them correct, but you can kind of cobble them together. This is all the way through the bag. You need to get this right. Can you speak a little bit about what that consideration cycle looks like? When they start to engage with you, what should they be thinking about? how long can they expect, the process to take? I know everything's different, but in typical terms.
Yeah, it's a hard question for me to answer because I'm more on the pre-sale side of things versus the implementation side of things. But with that being said, and giving a time frame and I think that's the question. I think the question is like, what's the time frame for maybe implementation, right? Going from yes, I want to start adopting an ERP like Profit 21 to when I actually go live with it. I think that's kind of what the question is, if I'm not correct.
Poorly worded, but yes.
Yeah. So again, I can't really speak to specifics. We can get you that information from our implementation and professional services that work with our customers to give you kind of a ballpark, but a lot of factors go into that, right? Like data migration. How much data are you taking from your existing system? What does your existing systems look like? Are you coming from a system that's really compatible with our ERP system, or something that's a disparate kind of collection of various technologies that we need to look at and consolidate and move into it? So a lot of it comes with the data transformation, I think, is going to add that variability to the time. So it's hard for me to give a specific time frame around that, but I think if you can contact any of our sales reps in our organization, they can give you probably a more concise time frame as to what that would look like if you were to go live, say, next week, or if you were to start next week, what that time frame typically looks like. So I don't want to put myself in a hole and say this is how long it takes to implement, because I might get people talking to me about that, specifically from the professional services side. But yeah, so there's a lot of different factors. They factor all that in, and they can give you probably a much more concise answer than I can to that question.
Yeah, no worries. One last question, as we're just slightly over, but I do want to get your perspective on some advice that you could provide to people who are considering taking this next step. I mean, what would you offer as a kind of a singular piece of advice for folks that are looking to get to the next level?
That's a good question. I would say understand clearly what your weaknesses are with your current system, right? If you know that, if there's something that's preventing you from doing your business and keeping your customers happy, understand what those challenges are. And then when we talk to you about what you're looking for, that makes it very easy for us to be able to create a solution for you. Like I say, our software is not, it's set up so that it's what I said several times, fit for purpose. So you can be in electrical, you can be in plumbing, you can be in Jansen, you can be in medical. You're all going to be in the distribution field, but there's uniquenesses to each one of those. Understanding what those are and your challenges around them, that helps us be able to create a solution that's going to be fit for purpose for you. So I would say understand those challenges, and like anything, it's all about data, right? Knowing your data. Where is it? What type of information do you have? Are there transformations that need to happen? Like, have you been making your own part numbers? Are you using a system to create them? How compatible is that going to be with a modern piece of technology? That's going to, from a technical standpoint, it's going to be a big thing. But, understanding your challenges as a business, what's preventing you from making money? What's preventing you from doing business and keeping your customers happy? From my standpoint, that's the key piece, right? If we know that and we can understand that, then we can show you a product that's going to solve those problems for you.
Yeah, outstanding. I think that's solid advice and a great way to end our conversation. Marcus, I want to thank you very much for your time today. That was a great demonstration, and it looks like we should probably offer more time at some point in the future and have you back to give us the rest and everything that you didn't get to share. But thanks again very much for your time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Great. So there you have it, another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Epicor and Marcus for the fine presentation, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.